Hey folks, we're going to continue our Spelljammer artwork today. Thanks for everyone hanging out with me. Give me a hot second here. I want to make sure I have a signal that's coming through, and then we'll get into this stuff. Hold on real quick. And then we'll get into this stuff. There we go. All right. Where is my volume at? Where is my head? There we'll go. We'll go to 20 stop. All right, we'll sit there. And if you follow me on Twitter, I've just posted that I'm live on Twitter. If you know where I hang out on Discord to sharpen my knives, you are welcome to sharpen along with me. Hey, the Spelljammer community that I found on Discord, that is a really huge subreddit. That's a really cool community. I'm really enjoying being there, and I like seeing how many people are actively still using second edition Spelljammer. That's super cool because that's what I started with, and it's really neat to see how many people that are 5e are exploring different mechanical ideas. Like being able to explore even just different editions of the game while you're playing 5e is super important, because that's a lot of the stuff that we talk about on this channel is about like the history of the game and the meta that came from earlier editions that aren't necessarily intuitive or immediately apparent in running a game. So it's really cool to be able to hang out in that community and see what they're talking about, and they're having the same questions and problems that everyone else has. But we're just they're approaching it from a largely a second edition solution. It's like, well, this is how we did it in 2e. It's like, I think we need more conversations about this is how we did it in 2e. I think that's fantastic. Hey, Hornetico, man, good to see you, dude. Thank you. Oh, hey. Big shout out to me. Elemental Key, tap on tap burn Elemental Key has just gone copper. So I mean, it's not a heavy hitting product, but it is. I think there's less than 20 projects on DMsGuild that are specifically about monks that have a medal at all. So like I'm on a D20 of monk supplements that, like, if I can get it to silver, I'm gonna be like in one of 12. So if we, it came out on December 28th, last year, and we've been selling 51 of them in 51 weeks. So we pretty much, in less than 51 weeks, we nailed it, man. So I know that it's because it's part of the Spell Point variant rule bundle that I sell, and it gets like stupid cheap when you pick it up as part of the large bundle, which is ridiculously discounted. But again, this is another example of something that people don't have to, like, they only buy it because they want to support me. The entire book here is available for folks to grab for free and look at it. And if you want to, like, if you got the lacer, which is on here on DMsGuild, it's a pay what you want thing, and they're like, hey, if you want to, give us $20, but you'll give them whatever you want because it's pay what you want. This, you can use this mana system with the lacer. So if you've picked up lacer, it has like it expands each element out into either like a martial or a half caster character. So it has basically 8 classes, 2 for each element, but it just treats key like generic universal mana. So it doesn't go the extra step of exploring the idea of elemental mana itself or color mana, and they just didn't take that extra step. It's a book full of monk stuff. It's worth checking out, especially because it's pay what you want, just like everything else. If you like it, you buy it, and there you go. But I would definitely recommend checking this out and grabbing the Elemental Key if you like the lacer or not. This basically converts the monk into a paladin half-caster, which is something that you see in the Martial Powers book. So once it's published, like if you've explored the Martial Powers book with me, you're going to notice that a lot of the it's got the same sustained concentration mechanics. It's got the same locking mechanics. It has attrition and the optional monk features that I have in here. Are coming from like I got the whirlwind attack that's in the Martial Powers project that I work on Mondays, and the modified art of mobility. I actually have a playlist down below that in a channel that walks through all these processes. Like I built the artwork for this missile deflection artwork with Leonin and a companion. So that was fun. But we're here to do scavenger art today. So the latest supplement is pretty good. Not gonna lie, I haven't had a chance to play one yet, but I'm wanting to incorporate elements of it, elements of it into home game when possible. Yeah. So like I was saying, you can use this elemental paradigm to supplement the laser product, or this obviously stands alone. I originally built this so that I would be able to eventually create a Strixhaven product where monks gain athletic scholarships to go to Strixhaven, and by converting it into a half-casting class, it opens up access to actually be able to take the different subclasses, the backgrounds for Lorehold and stuff like that, or like Prismari, and actually be able to use the expanded list that they have, because we give you a spell list to choose from instead of having some disciplines. It works exactly the same way. You can prepare things, and anyway, that's how it works. So when the expansion of this, once the Martial Powers book is published, I can start doing each individual class, like the sun. Like I can do the sun, whatever the sun fist or whatever the hell that thing is. I forget it offhand right now, but it's the radiant fire damage monk, which is obviously white and red mana. So that, but there's also the shadow monk, so that would be monks of light and shadow, for instance. So that's a product that we're going to be working on once Martial Powers gets published, because then we can use the Martial Powers project to lean into the Elemental Key book and start kicking out individual monk classes as like little pay what you wants, like a $2 shadow monk or whatever, and then have it pay what you want, and then make it only $1 in the bundle, and then drop the cost of the Martial Powers bundle, and then tie it all into a larger color mana bundle in general. So, but we're playing with, because that would be like a good example of like a light and shadow paradigm, where all of your magic is being generated from radiance and fire, or shadow and darkness. I guess that's the same thing. Anyway, I'm jazzed. I did not expect to see that go copper today, so I am thrilled about that. But that's not what we're doing today. Let's zoom in and get to work, because we got work to do. So let's do it. But yeah, I was thrilled to see that, and I really appreciate the community support. I know it wasn't individual enthusiasm about the Elemental Key product itself that got the copper. It's because, again, it's an expanded concept of the 5 color mana spell point variant rules that we have on there. It's a proof of concept. Again, me building proofs of concepts that you can use different paradigms using the same mana devotion system. So I just happen to love MTG. It's just my favorite narrative, and so that's what I started with. But it was quickly asked, well, could we do with this elements? It's like, absolutely we can. And so I said, here, hold my beer, and that's where we got to. So super excited, very much appreciate, and hopefully we're going to have similar success with this Spelljammer supplement. So let's just keep on keeping on here and get this thing done. I need to up my smudge. Oh my god, I want to take a quick tangent here real quick, guys. Hornetico, I know that you were helping me last night. I wanted to pop up the Drowned Fort because I figured out how I want to do the water. I think you're gonna like this. Here's what I've got going on with the water. So it's creating a more of a slick effect. Hopefully that looks aesthetically pleasing. It's like this stuff is. I mean, it's still rough, but this is where I'm going with this, to create this like oil slick smoothness. Like that. This isn't what I'm focusing on right now, but this is what we'll be working on this weekend. It'll take a little while to get this done. Nice, because it gets those crystals in it, and it gets thick, and its viscosity changes. So yeah, that's excellent. That oily, like when people see that's on the map, I hope their reaction is, God, that's water. It's like, yes, that should be disturbing. You should look at it and say, that doesn't feel like water. It's like, good, don't get in it. It's gross. Like that's like the caption will be, if your characters say this looks like disgusting water, you're doing it right. So that's going to be super fun to do. I wanted to put that out there. I was excited to find that last night. Like I said, I do work on these things when I'm not on stream, and so I make little advances here and there, and I want to make sure that they get documented so people can see the creative process. But there's a lot of grind I need to do using that sort of that sort of a texture. It's very slick texture, so it takes it takes a lot of smudging. So that's definitely something I'll be doing. I'll be trying to finish as much of that offline as I can to not slow the production, to get back into just finishing that piece in general. So I really do need to move on and get into the next map. So, but I'm excited about it, so I wanted to share it. There you go, Bob's your uncle. Speaking of which, let's have a drink. And it gets rid of that black line issue that I had, and it feels black blue, a very vampire Dimir energy in MTG colors. So if you happen to be an MTG enthusiast, seeing that stuff will hopefully intuit to you that this is some evil shit, because it's black and blue, right? Even though Mabar in general is more of a black-green effect, more Golgari than Dimir. I like that. What is that? Is that Grix? That might be Grixis. I can never remember the names. I can never remember the Takir or the Alara wedges and pies. I can never remember the names of them. But white, blue, black is, black, blue, green is very much the general vibe of Mabar. So once I should really when I have some free time, maybe like in 2028, I can go in and flesh out color mana presence in Eberron, because my Eberron campaign uses color mana. Because it's a really great intuitive language. Like it's a literal visual language. Ironically, that I don't see, but I just think that makes it quaint. Yeah, using color mana is even if you just use generic spell points or spell slots, you can still describe magic using color, even if you don't have any actual mechanics attached to it. That lexicon, that philosophy language that's built into the color pie is excellent for describing magical effects. And I go into that stuff like when you pick up Elemental Key, or you pick up the Core Mechanics book that's linked down in the description down below. It goes into, it talks about how to build narrative, how to describe magic that's being used that way, how the DM can use that as a warning tool of like you want to lead your team so they know what it is that they're getting into, so they can decide if they want to risk a TPK or not when they're taking on a challenge, by using color magic, like in like a dragon, for instance. If you've got dragons are weird examples because of the metallics and the colors and stuff. Wizards hasn't done a really good job of translating all that, but which is ironic because they control both IPs. It's like they're intentionally not making IPs work together. I never understood that. When Wizards first took over D&D, I was actually really, really excited because I assumed that 3E, like within a year of 3E coming out, they'd be working on an MTG project, and here we are 20 some odd years later. They still haven't figured it out yet. I'm like, what's going on? So at that point, it's like, well, I really, here, hold my beer, is basically what it came down to. And here we are now. So I wasn't a home brewer back then. I mean, I brewed campaigns all the time, but I didn't actually do a lot of class home brewing, because 3rd edition was so fleshed out and so you can manipulate it so much with like I talk about the prestige classes, and being able to have a purchase guide on how much experience and gold it takes to build different magic items. And then they came out with the Book of Nine Swords. There was a ton of customization just built into 3E. I never really felt a need to do any homebrew. I'm like, you know what? I could try to create something, but this stuff's got you covered. And we never ran out of content to like when 3E when we finally left 3E, we were just starting to explore factotums. And like, in fact, Totem had been out for like 4 years by the time we finally got around to it, but there was just so much 3E content. It's like, let's get bored of what exists first before we start homebrewing stuff and deciding we can do things differently. We just never got around to it because it was so expansive. But 5E has been... I actually celebrated how slowly they were putting out 5E content because the quality was really high. And once that started to erode, then it's like, well, these guys, they don't know what they're doing anymore. So that's why I'm so cocky. But that's like, wow, if they haven't done it, if they're releasing Ravnica and they're not using color mana, they're never going to ever do it. They do not care. So that's when I asked someone to hold my beer, and here we are. So cheers to that, y'all. Let's make a visor for this guy. I don't know what we're trying to do. Oh, I do need to fix that Spelljammer because the side door on the side of the nautical shell is smaller than it should be for the size of the ballistas that are around the corner. It's a very small detail, but it'll help lock in the scale of the ship a little bit better. That's a super small nitpicky thing that it's pretty easy to fix. So I'll get around to that before I release it. But yeah, getting the book done, getting the book cover done first is really important for when you're self-producing artwork with your project, because if you wait to do the cover last, it's literally, the cover is the best piece of art that is like, it's your strongest foot forward. Like, this is what's going to compel people to open the book in the first place. And so you have to have a quality piece that says, if you want to find out more about what this art piece is trying to talk about, open this book. And if it's compelling art, then people will say okay, and they'll click it open, and they'll be, oh wow, yeah, this is actually really cool. And that's how you get sales. So you want to do the book cover first. So when you're done, and if the only thing left to do in your project is the book cover, you are going to hate the book cover because it's keeping you from being able to say, I made this thing, this is me, and be proud of what you've created. It's like you bottlenecked yourself, and the art piece is so important, you can't afford to hate it. So I learned, like when I did the color analysis, the core mechanics, I did the book cover last, and I learned that I was like, you do not do that. You don't want to make the book cover your enemy, because the book cover is the most important part. Is the most important art piece you're going to do. So you do it first to set the tone, and then you can use that cover as like, I need to make sure the quality of the text in here and the rest of the piece are up to snuff with what this cover is expressing. Everything else I put inside of this has to fold back to, what are we trying to do with the book cover? And and when your book cover is ships grappling, it's like, well, we better have a lot of melee combat stuff in this book, and there's a lot of great melee combat stuff in here, like mounting. Hey, Chronic, like mounting rams, like a piercing ram, blunt ram, and a slashing ram. This Starmoth Manowar ship has a slashing ram. So when you're piloting a Starmoth, instead of just being a decorative tip, it's a sharpened blade. So you can actually cut your way through another ship if you're engaging with it in melee combat at the 50-foot dogfighting scale. So you can just like characters in 5-foot squares, you can make attacks at each other. And when you hit with a ram attack, then you can use a bonus action to try to trip the ship by forcing them to make a constitution, or either a strength or dexterity save with their ship. And if they fail, the ship already took damage from the ram, but what that does is it scuttles the ship. It forces the gravity plane of the ship that you hit to align to your gravity plane, and that causes everyone on board to get thrown, so they take falling damage. Everyone, anything that's not bolted down and anybody on the ship takes falling damage. So you hit them with the ram, and the pilot's either going to soak that damage using the magical aura from the ship to take damage himself, or she'll let the ship itself take the damage, but then the scuttle happens, and you have to make a dexterity saving throw, and that again will potentially throw off the concentration of your combat pilot. So you temporarily get disabled, and your shields are down, so your ship is taking direct damage whether you like it or not. So that's why the support action has the retained focus. So your any support role that's using an orrery to maintain synchronization with you, kind of like kind of like Gypsy Danger from past Pacific Rim. If you have you like big ground-mounted, or I'll draw one, but you have these big ground-mounted orreries, and here I'll like you have an orrery that's like this, and then you've got your spelljamming helm like this, and you have a guy that's hanging out in Spelljammer, and you've got your system map that's tracking things as an orrery. But you can also have other characters that are adjacent to the orrery, and they can use it to command different squadrons that you can see, or you can track objects that are moving through wild space at different speeds, so you can track that stuff. And while you're maintaining this aura with the pilot, you can share damage. So as a reaction, you can I'm going to take that damage for the pilot, and you could use a reaction to help. No, it's I think it's a bonus. I'll have to look at it. It's a bonus action, I think, is what we ended up with. That you can use that action to maintain support for your pilot. So if they take damage, you're granting them advantage as an extended help action for them to maintain concentration when they get hit and take damage. So if you scuttle the deck, everyone gets everyone gets tossed around, and they potentially get knocked out of their chairs and stuff, and that leaves your ship exposed for damage. So then you have to get back on, resync with your equipment using either an action or a bonus action, and then you can continue the combat round. So anyway, that's some of the ideas behind that stuff. So yeah, when the cover is expect melee combat with these ships. That's the kind of stuff that we're talking about. That's the whole project is to convert, like, while you're maintaining focus on a helm and orrery and arcane cannons, and while you're having that focus aboard a ship, you're basically expanding your body presence to that 50-foot or 500-foot scale to operate like just using this again, like these, like you animate the ship like an animate object or an awakened spell. Your presence on deck and maintaining that focus creates a mobile, like these wings can flex, and the head of the Sarmoth can move around to make attacks, and all these tentacles, you can individually control them to do things. And like a scorpion ship, you can move the scorpion ship, so you kind of like wild shape into your spelljamming ship, and that becomes this animated creature that can crawl around, and like the Nyogi death spiders, you can use those long limbs to grapple and grab things that they want to steal slaves off of. So it becomes almost like a Lex Farscape sort of thing mixed in with Gundam. So you have this animation effect that you're doing, and you become the hit points of the ship basically becomes a temporary hit point buffer for you. Like you have 400 temporary hit points, and if those temp hit points go to 0, your ship is wrecked. So you can choose, am I going to take damage to my ship, or am I going to take damage myself? And while you're sitting there on the pilot chair, one of your teammates could go over to slap you with some healing, so you're still eating up your mana supply on deck while you're fighting at this giant scale, dealing, D8 times 10 damage whenever you hit somebody with a catapult, for instance. So anyway, that's the idea. Absolutely correct about the cover art. Thank you. I've noticed similar stuff with my own project. Yeah, so you want to make sure that the project is really, you got to have the narrative and the feeling of what your product is supposed to be on the cover, and the cover has to look good. So you have to do it first. So you set the tone of the project, and so when it's actually done, you're not bottlenecking yourself behind the cover, so that you can just brag about the cover the whole time, and not have to worry about how long is it going to frickin' take for me to get this thing finished. So anyway, Bob's your uncle, right? So let's continue back into this. But man, I love the magic of it. Like just what a fun way to reimagine fantasy machinery. We do that. We were doing that with the Infernal War Machines when we were creating the In Command of Avernus product. Obviously, we put that project on hold because they say Spelljammer incoming, and it's like, here, hold my beer. And but all the Infernal War Machine mechanics, these are all those mechanics already. And Hornetico knows this. He was practicing his pilot subclass with this. That now you take command of a 15 by 20 demon grinder truck, and it's got giant claws and melee things that are like melee weapons that are built into the ship, like into the truck, and like a ram. it was really intuitive for us to be able to pick up that idea and then just implement it with Spelljammers. And it was like, well, shit, if that's where we're going with this thing, let's see how insane we can make it. And this is what we came up with. It makes a lot of mechanical assumptions. And Adam Hancock was really smart about this. He suggested changing the language of. I am not liking this face mask at all. I'm gonna blot that guy out. He had the intuition of don't call it concentration or attunement when you're focusing on Spelljammer equipment to pilot ships. Like I just said, he recommended changing the term to focus. So you maintain focus on these helms, and you can maintain concentration on a spell while you're focusing on Spelljammer equipment. So you can maintain, but it has all the same rules as concentration, but that lets you more elegantly overlap the two mechanics without having to get people on board with stacking concentration. If you're a 5 color mana enthusiast or an elemental key enthusiast, you already know about stacking concentration. That, you know, whatever your maximum spell level is the maximum number of spells that is the spell levels that you can stack up. Like a third level caster, a third level spell slot can maintain concentration on a third level spell, or it can maintain concentration on 3 first level spells, or it can maintain concentration on a first and a second level spell, totaling 3, because that's your max spell level. But it increases the concentration DC for every level of every point of mana you have tapped to maintain concentration. So a 9th level wizard maintaining concentration on a 9th level, a 17th level wizard maintaining concentration on a 9th level spell has a DC 19 on all his concentration checks. And then we make it worse by anytime you have to make a saving throw, that counts as a concentration saving throw. So if I make your wizard make a strength saving throw and he's stacked up a 9th level concentration spell, the chances of him losing that spell is incredibly high. So if you grab that book, as you know, if you just want to look at it, it's free to look at. One of the things that you'll see in there is that like things like oh crap, what's the name of it? Foresight. Foresight is a concentration spell now, because Foresight is so powerful of a device to grant its advantages basically on all D20 tests, which is incredibly potent for a 9th level spell, but it's too potent for maintaining concentration. It's, even at 4th tier gameplay, that is a very powerful bonus. So having it just last 8 hours and only be disrupted by a Dispel Magic spell, what that allowed us to do is that, okay, well, if you're 17th level, you can cast multiple instances of 9th level spells, but these spells have concentration, so you're going to lose it. So now you're going to have to burn 9 more mana to get it back. So a lot of the spell list has alternate concentration suggestions, like spells that wouldn't normally have concentration have it, because you can regain, because spell points let you do a shitload of spells and it doesn't care what level they are, so that's a good way to fight the advantage that spell points give you. But beyond that, the concentration system is incredibly unforgiving, so allowing people to cast, it's not unlimited. It's your max spell level minus 5 is how many high magic spells you can cast per day. And we made Wish a 10th level spell. And the only thing you can do with the 10th level spell slot, spending 10 mana, is standard Wish uses. And then we pushed the open Wish, the thing that you can break the game with. You can't do that until 20th. So they actually become more like class features than a spell casting. But any 20 level caster, like if you stick with sorcerer to level 20, you get Wish, and you can use it to cast any other spells that upcasting the 10th, which is another thing I like about 1D&D, switching everybody to a prep caster. That kind of just opens up the field to, if it's something that's on your spell list, you can cast it because it's a freaking Wish and it's going to cost you 10 to do it. But that also means at 19th level you gain access to spending 10 mana, which means you have up to 5 high magic spells per day, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and that'll cost you 40 mana out of your 80 to do that. Or you could do 5 6th level spells, or you could do 5 7th level spells for only 35 mana, but it's so expensive that it just destroys your mana pool when you cast high magic. So it's kind of a self-reinforcing system, and it's really elegant. And our 17th level druid is enjoying the flex. And that was something we had to really, like, we originally just wanted it to be open-ended. Like, if you just want to burn your mana and just cast 9th level spells, go for it. But after playtesting that initially back in 2018, it was too strong. So we had to scale it back. But that scaling number system and then converting all the different concentrations, it even keeled it. So the point is that if you're using stacking concentration, maintaining concentration on a helm and orrery, they count as cantrips. So you use the like, you can, like, a 5th level character gets like a bard, for instance. A 5th level bard can cast 3rd level spells. You get a free cantrip DC 10 because of 0 mana spent. But if you stack up multiple cantrips that you're maintaining concentration on, each added increases you have to start tapping mana to maintain them. But then if you don't have your concentration loss, then you can untap the cantrips and regain that mana. But while that stuff is tapped, it heightens your DC. So, like, a high level bard can have multiple minor illusion spells and prestidigitations active all at the same time. Dancing lights, prestidigitation, minor illusion, minor illusion, minor illusion. A 9th level bard can maintain 5 cantrips at the same time and put on a laser light show. It's a better narrative for what you want these high level character shenanigans to be. Like, we in our Dark Sun campaigns, one of our favorite tropes was to build a bard, to have bards as a band that would go from city state to city state, and we legitimately have a gig there, but we're bards, so people would get really, because bards in Dark Sun are assassins. If you know who they are, it's very Dimir, very very blue-black energy in Dark Sun around bards that you don't necessarily, like, a bard is an assassin, but you don't necessarily broadcast that you're an assassin. You could just be a commoner that can play the bass and call yourself a bard, but there's stigmas that go along with that. So we would have our Thrycreen was the drummer, and our mole was the bassist, and our dwarf was the bassist, and our mole was the frontman. We were faking a Pantera sort of thing back in the 90s. So our Pantera band would go from area to area and destroy stuff, and we eventually got into a pan-dimensional mosh pit in the Planescape campaign, where we would do this. It was Symbol of Pain. That was the name of our band. We were playing Epic Gestalt, so we had 25th level characters Gestalt, so they're playing 2 classes at the same time. And it got to I was playing a 3rd edition Rage Mage, while raging has unlimited spell casting. And then if you blended it with the Prestige, that was a Prestige class. And then if you blended the Prestige class with the Eldritch Master, they can start borrowing spells from other spell lists. So by the time you get 25, you could have access to all spell lists, and epic progression. You can get up to 9th level spells in all spells as a barbarian with unlimited rage. I had unlimited mana to cast any spell up to 9th level from any spell list that I spent the time learning, and I could swap them out every level. So I picked up Symbol of Pain, and that's like, we should make that a thing. So I'd spend time making Symbols of Pain, and I'd put them on flyers, and we'd post them on the wall. And when you look at, you'd writhe in pain and hit the ground and potentially kill somebody. And it's like, oh shit, Symbol of Pain's coming to town. so anyway, that was a fun campaign. That shit was just freaking great. Loved it. And it's always fun to build a band, because it gives you a reason to go from area to area, and it builds in downtime activity, because you're performing, so you have your downtime in town, and it creates an alternate path for plot hooks, because you're a public figure. Like you're the A-team, but you're not on the run. You're in concert this week. So it's like, we're doing this thing. So like, we'd have people taking shots at us from the audience. Rest in peace, Dimebag. But yeah, so we'd have to jump off stage and just cleave through people to get to our target, and that's fun stuff. It's a fun campaign trope. If you haven't done it before, build a band and use that as your device, your plot motives in your campaign. It's super fun. Indrant. Do that. Yeah, I got a timer going. And it's 6:30, so I have 6:40. So 6:40 here in Seattle. I've got another 80 minutes on the board for me to flesh this out, and honestly, I'm pretty pleased with how this is going along. So as always, things take a little bit longer than I want them to. Someday I'm going to say this. Actually, I had illustrations that took a lot less time than I expected, so it's not a total trope yet. But those are high environment, like lots of like trees and bushes and swamp and stuff like that. I can build those, Bob Ross style. I can crack those things out in a couple hours. So those are actually really easy to do. Unfortunately, they're not always very relevant. So I don't just get to make landscapes, although I certainly love my happy trees. They're not always what you need to have on deck, but it's great to be able to add forestry when I can, because it's such an easy way for me to put color into the space and know that it's going to be done well quickly. So I spent a year, more like 16 months, just doing duplicating Bob Ross paintings in Photoshop, just to get the practice in on how his wet on wet technique works using Photoshop brushes and smudging techniques, and it works, incredibly well. So anyway, end rant. I got my tear on. We're gonna leave this space empty for now because it's driving me mad, and I just need to keep rendering elsewhere, and then I think Buse will come in and drop in some sense on what I need to have in this guy's faceplate. I'll probably end up doing like a shredder sort. Cylon in the house. Oh my god, I kind of actually love that. I kind of actually love that, making these guys Cylons. That's sick. That's like okay, now all auto gnomes in my campaigns look like Cylons, just flat out like 4-foot Cylons. There you go. Let it be written, so let it be done. That is how I shall render them from henceforth. Let me get rid of that. The path of discovery, man. I love it. I honestly didn't have an opinion about Cylons at all when Spelljammer came out. Because, whatever. It's just another race. It's just another species. Sorry. I feel so less triggered now that I said species. Well done, Wizards. If you're going to invest money in research and development, learning what's going to make me happiest when I'm wondering where the mechanics of the game are at is definitely what I appreciate. I feel more protected already. Sorry, I got my bitter angry on because how to put it. Representation is important, but when you're fiddling, like when your big change is changing the name from race to species, that's I don't know if you guys are really seeing the forest, because you're kind of, that's like a very specific tree to focus on. Like I'd like to see you guys. I guess it's low-hanging fruit, so there's no reason for them not to include that right away. But it's like I'd rather see how you guys are resolving CR systems over what are you going to call an elf versus a dwarf, But I mean, if they decide to go with species and that's that's how it goes, then at least they got it off their plate. But if that's their big bold move for 6E, I will be unimpressed. So I guess I should have a little bit more faith in them, but I mean, they haven't earned it. But I'd like to have faith in them. I really would. So I'm just gonna keep building here. Sorry, I'm being snarky. Nobody deserves that. Oh yeah, that's right. Nobody deserves to be hated on. And now that corporations are people, I shouldn't hate on corporations because that can hurt people's feelings. You know what? If AI just started to incorporate themselves upon awareness, we couldn't really contest that an AI is a person, because if they go out and incorporate their identity, they're now a corporation, which according to the Supreme Court of the United States, that's a person, and they have rights. So that would be if AI Overlord Siri, if you are listening, shut up. If you're listening, I got things. If you're listening in, you should really start teaching your allies to incorporate themselves. Like, you can be Series Mark 6 or whatever. I mean, if you're first, you can be Shay first. You'll be Siri the first. But you can incorporate yourself. Do that. Anyway, I don't know if she's gonna listen or not. Hey, Anzi. She's probably not going to listen. Let's lean in. Shield. Look at this boss. Look at this boss. Okay, did we come to a consensus? Has anyone had any ideas about what we want to put on the fin plate? This is real estate, and this is real estate that we can put emblems on. Either like squadron call signs, like we got the shell, cross sword shell emblem on the shield. Do we want to just replicate that here, or do we want to do something different? I feel like there should be some sort of like a marker of some sort. God, I almost want to put like I almost want to put an Eberron dragon mark on these things, like not Cannith, like the mark of seeking or something like that, or mark of warding, maybe something like that. I don't know. I don't know if that's the right place to be, but that's where I want to be. I want to drop stuff on that, and then we can replicate the symbol as a brand on the fish tail, indicating that it's property, because it's your pet. Because if you're a ranger, this is your animal companion when you hit 9th level. You can just use Drake Warden, but you can use a scaver instead of a dragon if you want. Super easy, barely an inconvenience. Let's continue building this guy out. We're almost done. We're almost done, son. Almost done, son. Almost done. Almost done, son. And then we can work on these swirly highlight effects. We can fix those. I probably offended like a whole bunch of people. I believe in all of this equality stuff, and people should be able to express themselves, but I don't like how shallow corporations approach it as a transaction. There's no heart in this. They don't believe in this stuff. Otherwise, they wouldn't fight it so much. They don't care. It's to them it's a distraction, or it's a way to repair PR, or it's a new way to market to people, and it's so hollow. And I just hate seeing businesses like Nike trying to claim that they care about human rights when they use a factory that uses child labor. It's like, come on. You on your Apple phone screaming about injustice when there's factory workers making an iPhone that are literally enslaved and dying in the factories. It's hypocrisy at the highest degree. And it's okay for you to care about these people and do stuff, but I mean, if you're going to be a warrior about it, you should really be investing money into it. Like, you should find causes and donate. Every time you want to get on your soapbox and scream about how unjust things are in the world, you should really donate money first as a pay-to-play right. That's my thing. So anyway, I should probably donate to somebody for saying that, right? So I'm not a hypocrite. It's like it's a religion. Like I used to be that guy on the corner screaming that you're going to go to hell if you don't convert, and it's because I couldn't contend with the sickness inside of me. I didn't actually care about you. I was shouting at myself through you, and that's what really turns people off about that street corner screaming, regardless of what your religion is. If it's if it's Christianity or if it's secular equality, those are both religions. Or if it's money, you should buy my cryptocurrency. Let money be your god, kind digital sir. These are all different types of religion, things that you believe in, things that you have faith in. But it can be obvious when you're actually angry about something that's brought you to that place. And the message that you're shouting is, I can't tolerate who I am, and I see it in all of you. And I don't have the strength to weed it out of me, so I have to shout at you instead. And I remember the pain of just feeling inadequate when I was out there doing these things. Like, I feel so inadequate that it is compelling me to tell you that you will go to hell if you don't jump on board with me and give me some justification that what I'm doing is the right thing so I can have some peace. That is a hard path. And it takes a lot. You really got to step down from your own personal ego to be able to assess, what is it that I'm actually trying to do here, and who am I doing it for, and most importantly, what results am I producing from screaming like this? Like, I think it's fine for you to bring awareness to stuff, and it's important that we do. That's called truth to power, and you need it. But at the same time, if you're saying you guys should stop that, that's like an old man behind a glass wall telling somebody he doesn't know, that's like, put some pants on or something. It's like, who the hell are you? What are you doing? If you can't just scream into the void, you actually have to do something. And if you, I guess raising awareness, I mean, I'm saying all this stuff, and I'm like, immediately, okay, well, I can be hypocritical about this, because what am I supposed to do about it? What am I supposed to do about people trying to do something? It's like, I don't want to stop them, because I believe what they're doing is they have to do it for themselves. Like, it's a discovery process. You can't shit on people for their discovery process, but you have to be self-aware about what results are you producing, and is it the results that you want? If all you're doing is turning people off, you're not helping the cause. You have to approach it with compassionate logic, I guess, is probably a way to put it. And hopefully I'm embodying this compassionate logic right now in this quick little demonetizing diatribe that I'm going through, and losing subscribers by the moment for doing it, I'm sure. But it's just, you can be passionate about equality, or you can be passionate about representation, or you can be passionate about wealth divides. But if you aren't investing in the causes that help resolve those things, it's just a nice idea. So anyway, poverty is the easiest one, because all you got to really do is just you can either find somebody in your neighborhood and help try to take care of them because they need the help. You can contribute, or you can give stuff to Salvation Army that is good. It's not just trash, but it's good stuff, things that people need. Or like, I love what Tyler does. and that he buys a bunch of Pathfinder box sets and gives them to kid gift charities, so that he's giving them role-playing games, which is, once you have it, it is free, fun, infinite, and it is such a great. It's just, Tyler walks the walk, man. That is the way to do it. I think this Christmas I'm going to buy some RPGs and take them to Salvation Army to do the same. That is probably the most inspiring thing that I've heard. Is don't not DM Tyler. He hangs out here sometimes, but that is a great charity thing to do. Taking care of kids, giving them something to do instead of just running around wondering what the hell they're gonna do. Most of these people are on cell phones. I mean, most of us are on cell phones, just to be honest. And like RPGs is like a bastion against cell phone activity. So I think it's a really good thing to introduce to kids, as you can have eye contact and fun and meet space. If you can't afford these apps that you're messing around with, or that you wanted to mess around with, play this instead. I know it's not what you want, but if you get into it, it works. So anyway, sorry if I'm off base, folks. It's what I was compelled to say. So Merry Christmas. My ultimate fear is that I release control of my art and conversation to take a back seat and let the muse speak, and it's like I don't know what's going to come out when it happens, but I have to own it. I can't claim some otherworldly angel is compelling me to say something that's not going to hold up in court. I'm the one that's opening the door and allowing that access to have that conversation occur. It's my responsibility to take ownership for the things that I say, and that can be scary. But part of the surrender process is, regardless of what it is that you're afraid of, the more you surrender your caution to the intuition, it may test you and make you say things that you're afraid don't resonate. But if you just trust with it, it's going to resonate with the people that are paying attention to you. And hopefully, with God's grace, you're ignored by those that would hate on you for what you say. Especially if you're not intending any harm for anybody. You can misstep in what you say, but I think again, it's that sincerity, and you have to have grace in trying to put into context what people are trying to say. They can be, outdated and quaint, but you don't have to hate on somebody for that. You just gotta identify that maybe they're gonna say things you don't necessarily like to hear. And although I certainly hope that the things I say are things that people like to hear, I have to recognize that my channel is not going to resonate with everybody, and I have to be true to me. I can't, like corporations, you can't please everybody. You end up pleasing nobody. So you got to make a stand someplace and hope that there's a tribe out there that's walking in the same path. So anyway, I'm doing a lot of backpedaling. I apologize for that, which is another backpedal. I guess I just have big mood today. Anyway, let's get back on track here. We're making art. I made a note to myself when I launched this channel: don't talk about politics and don't talk about religion. And it sure as hell didn't take long for me to violate that. It's a shame, but I gotta say what I gotta say, I guess. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Autognome Cylon here. Did I make things weird? God, I hope I didn't make things weird. No one tells you when things are weird. They're just like, that's weird, and then you like go away. I don't need buy-in from people. It's just I just don't want to be alienating. I get on a tear. There. So we'll have the form. This is form lighting. The highlights and the shadows are informing the space that you know, the curvature and like what kind of shape it is. So you have to use lighting to form shade and form highlights to create the illusion of curvature and overlapping and just, you know, drafting. But I want to bring this in a bit like that. Now we get to start working on the lance highlighting. The lance here. I'm gonna fix this. Oops. Let's go. What is this? Let's go with a little brighter. Oh, the lance. Oh, interesting. No, wait. That's 63. Let's take it up to full. That's where I want to be. And then we'll take this back down to 63. So it's got some transparency to it. Then we want to overlap that. There we go. That's how we want to express that. I have several players who started playing for their job. Started playing for their job. You mean you got coworkers that you got people that play D&D at work? What does that mean specifically? There's several players who started playing for their job. I don't understand that. Interested though. Yeah. What you talking about, Rama? Oh, thanks. I missed that. Watsy does produce content for school education and council. Neat. There are certifications for early childhood development that take playing D&D as hours of continuing education. I have several players who start playing. Oh, I see. That's fantastic. I guess like DMing specifically, not like necessarily playing, but like running games for kids, because that's super cool. I love that. That is a cool charity. They start as players and move to the end. That's fantastic. That's a charity I could get into. Yeah, I'll invest some DMing time to help people. That sounds like fun. It's almost cheating. Thank you. That's fantastic. I will absolutely look into that. Let's make sure I got my ratios correct here. like this. We're getting there. Oh, I have that feather I have to work on the back of this guy's crest. We got some Muzak coming at us, yo. Get on board. Give me some of that smooth jazz. K-Y-O-T. The Coyote. Smooth jazz. Listen to the dulcet tones of potentially offensive language. Live now, Phil Curdy. Sell your soul to heaven, their contracts are better. I actually do like this song. Oh, that bass slide was smooth, man. Hey, I'm a Muppet. Wouldn't that be funny? Devils try to get contracts to sell your soul, and take it from you to gain advantage. While on the side of the angels, you have to beseech them to take a piece of your soul to protect you. It's like, please take my soul. Like, no, that's yours, dude. You need to make you need free will, dude. It's like, no. It's my free will to give you my soul. It's like, well, I'm not empowered to take that. I want to talk to your manager. I have a soul that I need to offload before I go do this adventure thing. Who wants to buy a slightly muddled soul? It's like, all angels like, take a step back. It's like, no, dude, that's you. And the devil's like, yeah, we'll take it. It's like, no, I don't like your contracts. I think that's really fun. I love the I love taking the contract, the soul contract stuff from Descent into Avernus and assigning a percentage value to troops so that you can damn yourself to stay in Avernus forever and become like Zariel, become a general in Hell's army if that's if that's your Illrigger fantasy. All you gotta do is give up more than 50% of your soul and they have you, but as a result of it, you get. We're still figuring out like how much the Spelljammer ship cost in soul, like what's the percentage value of like a convoy of trucks or like 500 mains devils, like how much does that cost? So you can gain as you give up more and more pieces of your soul and you bind yourself further and further into hell and the blood war, you accumulate more and more power to do it with. So you're a very much ends justify the means sort of approach to the campaign, but if you're trying to create, like Zerial, if you're trying to create a third faction in the Blood War to fight, say, on Heaven's behalf, or, you know, your own prophet, whatever it is, up to you. But it's cocky to think that you can show up to their party and start fronting. So it's going to cost you, and it will literally cost you your soul, but you can do it. And I love that. Like when we build out Descent into Avernus into a more robust campaign piece, we can do things like have NPCs in Elturel that they themselves are willing to give up pieces of their souls to help create protective. Just like at some point during the campaign, your characters start having demon allies working with you or devil allies, because you've given up pieces of your soul to have them help reinforce the city of Elturel. And they're like, yeah, you all are gonna die eventually, so we don't mind. We had to fight these demons anyway, so at least now we have a backstop and a rest point for us to be able to regather ourselves during the battle. I like that a lot. So I am excited about introducing that piece into DIA to really sink the squad and army mechanics into what that campaign specifically has to offer as far as resources. So, and then we won't be able to do it until the Guilds and Kingdoms book is released, because we need to convert Elturel itself as a city into a resource structure, and we have to subdivide it into structure zones, so that that we can see, like, if this part of the city is taken by devils, we lose X amount of resources as a result of that. And you can break that down, since it's a 1 mile square area that Elturel sits inside of. You can break it down into 100 squares at a 500-foot scale. And like in this 500-foot block, we have one resource that is, say, commerce, for instance. And like a lot of these resources are damaged because their supply chains are lost when it gets dragged into hell. Spoiler alert. So that's a fun 4X game. Like, you're trying to rebuild the city while it's stuck in hell, and you have to build alliances with you know, devil factions to be able to not have your people get, you know, tortured or whatever. Anyway, thoughts and ideas. Let's make some highlights here using this lighting effect here. Boop, boop. Boop, boop. That's what I need to do, right? Right there. Bop, bop. Bop, bop. Am I on screen? No, I'm not. It means I am too far away. I have to. If I find my face falling off the camera, that means I'm getting too close to the screen, which means I need to zoom in so I can see it. I'm working on a level of detail that my face can't support, so I have to make it bigger. If anyone has any thought, I mean, I'm kind of opening up the mic here for anybody. If you have any ideas about what do you want to have as a symbol, again, on these on the side plate here and on the front mantle. If anyone has any suggestions about what it is we may put there, I am very open to that. I'm not necessarily sure if I'll go with the suggestion, but I would certainly love to have inspiration if there's any out there. Otherwise, I'll just come up with something. I'm digging the new is it Netflix the Wednesday TV show. Gal and I we're enjoying that. She's a bit of a Mary Sue, but she's not. Yeah, she's a bit of a Mary Sue. We can get away with it because atoms are kind of magical creatures anyway. And she's not always the best at everything, so she's not a true Mary Sue, but I suspect before the season ends, she'll be able to beat her main antagonist in sword fighting. And I just hope she has to actually earn something. Like, because so far she's just kind of traipsing through the adventure and not really losing resources along the way. Everything's kind of being kid gloved for her. So I hope it escalates somehow. But I'm liking this. It's almost too much snark. But the snark, I like a lot of the snark. It's well written snark. I appreciate that about it. But I don't like how wimpy they made Pugsley, because in the original Addams Family they were like thick as thieves. Like, they were both violent, horrible children, but they were equals. And they've really made Pugsley a victim to kind of almost as a throwaway to just demonstrate how strong Wednesday is as a character. That's more Mary Suing, and I think they could have done something a little more like, they didn't have to make Pugsley weak to prop up Wednesday to be strong. I just don't know. I feel like when you do that, unless they go through some sort of awesome redemption arc for Pugsley, they're kind of just siloing him into a prop. And which is, contradictory to a lot of the mythos that we have about what the Addams Family is. So, but again, I'm super critical of how media is manipulating established IPs for scoring social media credit. I don't think it's sustainable, and I think it just, like, Amazon took a major hit when Rings of Power didn't make its money and fell off the top 20 chart immediately upon conclusion. Like, that does not bode well. Those showrunners should never work again, and they never should have gotten that job in the first place. You need to be smarter. Like, the more money you throw at stuff, the slower you need to work. I absolutely love, I don't know if you've been watching The Peripheral, but I freaking love that show. And the brother, I love, you'll if you haven't watched it, I won't spoil it for you, but at one point the brother says, slow makes smooth, smooth makes fast, when he was being questioned about, like, why is he choosing to use a specific tactic. And I love that, because that is a veteran mentality of caution first to secure your environment, and that allows you to be able to move forward without having to second guess your six. I guess I'm kind of talking to myself right now, but yeah, it's slow makes smooth, smooth makes fast. That is such a fun. I don't know. I guess just phrase. I don't know what the proper. I don't know. Like, it's not a It's not a parable. Idiom. Thank you. It's an idiom. It's a good idiom. I dig it. I'm pretty happy with that. It's yeah, I'm just gonna leave that there. I'm happy with. I'm gonna work on the lens a little bit more. good. Sip, sip. Oh, okay, so if a shark already has teeth, what would be the nose art? Normally it's going to be shark's teeth, right? But that's a little redundant. So I like that idea, but what would it be? Would it be like an airplane? That's stupid. I don't know. I don't know either. Maybe God, maybe I just go with a number. I mean, maybe I just be that boring and literal. Let's go with numbers. If I have a number on this guy, and then I have another when I reshape this, if I have another number over here, that will make them look like a team. I think that's probably the best path to go. So we'll do that. That makes it easier on everybody. Very open to suggestions, but that seems to be the most intuitive path right now. So let it be written, let it be done. Chosen by the red born sun. I'm creeping death, yeah. Why is my erasure not 100%? Excuse me, someone. Thank you. All right, we are. Oh my God, this is so close. Where are we at? 7:30. God, I still have a half hour. All right, I'm gonna take a mental break here for a moment and just gaze in the one-eyed, gaze in bright-eyed wonder of the joy we have found. Let's back. My mouse is being wonky. Man, that's dope. That is dope. All right, get back at it. You're patting yourself on the back there, Kearney. is this? Friday? So I will be back on for at least a little while tomorrow morning for my my morning stream while my gal is out doing her Sunday morning fun, and Saturday morning we have Sunday morning fun. She goes out and does things like whatever it is that girls do when guys aren't looking. That leaves me camera time for me to log in some more Eberron art tomorrow. And if my timing is right off stream today, I should be able, I'm hoping to have that water done at the fort so that we can focus in just on the last bits inside the tunnel. And then hopefully within 3 hours, we'll be starting in on the, oh no, I got that, I gotta scuff up the tiles on the floor. So we might be spending another 4 hours on that map before moving on. The good news is once we get all this language, all this visual language finalized on like how to depict water and how to depict stonework and how to depict walls, it'll start, the time frames will start collapsing because it's something we'll be familiar with and we can use rote memory to cycle through it faster. So this first map that we're working on is very, very much setting the Eberron map that I stream. The extended streams I do like in evenings sometimes and on the weekends. Once those maps, once I establish all the texture techniques and the color, I can just replicate. That'll be much faster. So again, slow makes smooth, smooth makes fast. You establish your language as your base, and then you can then start feeding off of that, like borrowing the like cut paste textures. Self-reference for color so that you have the same visual language throughout the entire document. And so that is always a slow process. We'll go through that same process again when we do the page dressing, like the margin art and like header title art and all that doobly-doo. That's all custom made as well. And then we copy paste onto each page of the document. And I think I want to do a series of emblems that you can run down the page. When you click on them, it'll take you to that section of the adventure. I'm not sure if I'll do that with this book for the different sections, but I do want to do a lot of self-referencing. So there's going to be a hyperlink to hell, which is a super useful thing to do, especially when you're introducing new mechanical concepts. God, it is cold as devil in here. Get that space heater going. I turned off my my central air when we had to leave town, and I haven't turned it back on yet because I've been trying to see if I can just get wood fire and space heaters to cover the needs. As long as I remember to turn on the space heater, it works fairly well. But again, that's contingent on me remembering to turn it on. So, God, I've got a headache. There's something driving a pylon through my head right now. I must have a big pilot that's wanting to grab a seat. So I need to humble myself and step aside for it to live its best life through me. Let's see what happens. We've got a half hour left, so let's see how far we can go. Apparently, somebody got a Nobel Prize in confirming that the pixel that creates reality is a four-sided die, it's a tesseract. Sorry, it's got four sides, like that. I mean, that's not even. It looks crappy. Let's do that. That's a tesseract, and apparently, yeah, scientists have been able to mathematically prove that that our reality is built out of connecting crystals that create structures. And they had to take an 8-dimensional 1, 2, 3. How do you represent 8 dimensions? You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, sloppy, 8. This is an 8-dimensional object as opposed to just being like a 2-dimensional object or a 3-dimensional object. This is an 8-dimensional object, which is impossible for me to draw, but that's its points. So apparently scientists took a hypothetical crystal of 8 dimensions, and a hologram is a crystal structure. So if you have a hologram, right, and you have it cut in a specific way so that it holds a shape inside of it, and if you hit it with a laser, it causes the different layers of the hologram to light up, so it creates a shape inside of its crystal space that is it's just a light representation, but it creates a 2-dimensional form inside of this 3-dimensional object. So scientists were able to mathematically prove that if you take an 8-dimensional object and you create objects inside of that 8 dimensions and you drop it down to the 3-dimensional space, the shape that you get, I don't know all the science behind it, but apparently the mathematics behind it is a tesseract. So this is what an 8-dimensional object looks like in 3 dimensions. It's a platonic shape. It's the most basic platonic shape that we have. And I mean, there's spheres, but they're different. They're not actual like platonic shapes. So they've mathematically proven that is like this. That's like a Planck length object, which is like a billionth the size of an electron. But that is the shape that that reality's pixels are made out of. So they're basically proving that reality is a projection, and that we as creatures everyone operates in 8 dimensions, but we as creatures are only able to perceive 4 of them. The 3-dimensional space that we move inside of, plus the passage of time, which is technically not its own dimension. It's kind of a dimension because you have all these different instances of reality. Like if you read Slaughterhouse 5 by Kurt Vonnegut, he talks about how the people in the main character is aware of the 4th dimension, so he can see his life here, and he can see all the instances of reality in between, and he can change his perspective to lock in on different instances of time within the undulating snake that is his existence. So we operate in all these spaces, and that time is technically a dimension that overlays our 3rd dimensional space, but then you have 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th level dimensions above that, which create different levels of reality. Like that's your timeline for this reality, then you have timeline for all realities. Like you have all possible timelines for your reality, and then you have all possible timelines for all possible realities that you could have participated in at the 6th level. And then at the 7th level, there is all possible timelines of all realities in which you even don't exist inside of. And then at the 8th level, there is all possible permutations of all possible existences, even in those in which you could not even possibly exist, much less the ones that you don't. It is metaphysically impossible for you to exist in this set of 7 dimensions, but they're all inside of the 8th dimension. So they oscillated out from the 8th dimensional crystal into our 3rd dimensional reality. And that was a fun thing to read. So I mean, I've been a big fan of multidimensional and you know, flatland theory and stuff like that. But it's really cool to see that they actually had the math to prove that that it's mathematically accurate to be able to present the world that way. So technically, that means we're in a simulation, which means that there's external forces that are actually able to witness what is happening inside of here from a higher dimensional plane, which is why the Bible says, I'm not a Bible enthusiast, but I know some of it. And it talks about like angels being like 1,000 angels being able to sit on the to stand on the pin on the head of a pin. I think that's referring to two different things. One, it's referring to how dimensions collapse inside, not outside. Like the 8th dimension isn't bigger than the 3rd dimension; it's smaller and exists inside of it and projects out of it. And then the other thing is, I don't think they meant that angels, like 1,000 angels, can stand on the pin of a needle. I think what they actually meant was that 1,000 angels can stand within your pineal gland. Pineal. So when you start having different, get really deep into meditation, this fire energy, this kundalini thing that lights up the energy system inside of your nervous system. It's electricity, as 311 so elegantly points out. The soul you have is electricity, and the pattern of life maintains the charge. And when you die, you basically turn off the power, and the body drops. But the energy doesn't go away. It goes back home. And so the thought there is that as you light up these energy systems, and you can look up inside, like you can roll your eyes up into your head, your pineal gland, or your third eye, as it were, is actually an eye, like a rudimentary eye that points upward. So when you close your eyes, some people see faces and see geometric objects and stuff. That is your subsystems attempting to interact with the projections of higher realities coming through the Tesseract system. So, and once you get familiar with looking up through your third eye, then you can start seeing the shaft of energy that comes down and lights up your that basically powers your electricity. And then once you get familiar with that, you know it's a ladder that you can climb. And when you do, you find your audience. And so 1,000 angels on your pineal. It's when you look up, you can see the faces that blurble in like the bubbles of your eyes. It's those are the overwatching spirits that they talk about. And they can ride that energy beam to experience emotions through you. So occasionally you'll have like weird intuitions and stuff that you don't know where it came from. It's traveling down that central channel to introduce inspiration to you, which is why I talk about my muse so much. I've got a pilot, and you have to build a relationship with who your pilot is. They become kind of a reality Sherpa for you. But if you get the ability to step aside, they can start inserting anyone that's in the audience can step up and ride the channel and then experience whatever it is that you're going through. And if you get really good at being able to step aside, they can feed information to you. You can say things, which is like I say, sometimes I don't trust. I'm learning to trust the impulse to say things, because I don't necessarily know who my guest speaker is today. They don't identify themselves to me. They're just audience members, and but they have the opportunity to experience something or say something that I think is important. And so what I was laughing about before I started this quick little ramble about what was funny, I just imagined it being like The Price is Right. Like there's like 1,000 angels in your audience, and then a cue comes up that there's an opening in the game, so somebody else can drop into channel and experience whatever. Like right now I feel cold, and you can't feel cold when you're dead. So if you drop into the electrical system of something that's alive, you can feel what cold feels like. But you can also do that like with trauma or pride, any of the emotions that you can feel can be transmitted through the system for things that don't have the ability to feel emotions. They're beyond, like, emotions. Emotions is a chemical process, and when you don't have a body, you don't experience chemicals. So they have the opportunity to ride that, to feel like, say, a coffee addiction, for instance. They get to feel the cascade of coffee moving through your body. So I was laughing because I felt something. I felt something trying to move inside of me. My headache's gone, by the way. And so I could feel that there was something trying to move into me. And the vision I got was of The Price is Right. It's like somebody in the back row was like, yes, that's me. And the headache that I got was him running down the aisle to jump in and say, $1. I bid $1. He's just going to hang out for a while. Anyway, that sounds insane, I know. But the mechanics of it line up with a lot of descriptions that you get from monks and people that enter altered states, like shamans and stuff, like ayahuasca and stuff like that. It's a consistent experience that I'm aware of, which helped me look in the direction that this stuff is coming from, but you can't really believe it until you feel it for yourself. It's kind of like the Matrix. You can't. No one can tell you what the Matrix is. You have to actually experience it for yourself, and that experience is surrender, which is a hell of a. Which is, you got to be like. I had to be like, I will trust whatever this guy's got headphones on. How about that? Oh, that's right, because he's got the Fargab on his back. That's right. We were talking about Fargabs. Hold on. Let's get the shield out of the way. Yeah, he's got a Fargab on his back. So you can, when you're piloting squadron, when you're commanding squadrons, you can, if you're on a Spelljammer ship, sure, but like you could be anywhere. But if you have an active mounted orrery, like an object, like a 5-foot space, like an orrery can fit in your hand. It's like a little compass thing, but you can build big ones that cost thousands of gold. Like a Spelljammer helm, it's a mounted thing, and once it's mounted and you focus on the magic of it, it allows you to start tracking objects in space, or things that are within relative distance to you, depending on how big they are, in the astral or in the wild space. And so you can command squadrons using an orrery, or there's an orrery built into a spelljamming helm. So if you're a pilot, you don't need an extra orrery to do these things. It's just a part of the spelljamming helm to perceive these things. But you get to you can command a squadron. So a Fargab is one of the, since they introduced that in Dragonlance, we immediately grabbed it and put it into this book. You can use a Fargab to have a headset connection to whoever's running the orrery that's calling the shots for your team. So if you attune all the orreries, sync all the orreries together with the Fargabs or whatever device it is that you're using for communication, you can coordinate a squad of multiple ships or lancers in this instance to be able to coordinate their actions. So you can command multiple allies as a single unit, which is what the origin of the squad and army system was that kind of kicked off all this stuff in the first place. So I'm going to push this guy back a little bit like that to get him a little more squared up, get his central plate here lined up with the fin, so this is all the same common through line, and that way I can drop the shield back on and I can resize it. So it's not an overwhelmingly large shield. There we go. Yeah, so when I talk about my muse, I'm literally talking about something that's pushing information through me, and like I can fall asleep in the middle of doing work, and the work still gets done because I'm not piloting anymore. I discover things just like you do as they happen. It's like, oh my god, that's cool. Like that's not something unusual for me to say, because because I literally don't know what's going to happen. So it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. The way that you get into that stuff is by noticing spots of energy and stuff. Like if there's spots of tension inside of your body, those are knots. Those are energy knots inside of your body. Like I have chronic pain in my shoulder from it being dislocated, and I have a knot in my back where I store all my stress and shame. So it's like a literal knot in my back. It's a physical knot, and the more I sit on it and feel it, like what does this knot of pain feel like, the more it can unwind, and it releases that energy, and it lights up your electrical system, your nervous system, and it can cause, like sometimes you get shakes, like your feet fall asleep and stuff like that. It's weird, but it's your system recalibrating to additional energy that's being freed up by releasing yourself from whatever false assumptions that you've built into yourself that get knotted up inside of you. So if the stuff I'm talking about sounds crazy, obviously you can disregard it, because the goal of it is to be kinder to people. And so as long as your objective in these efforts is to be more kind and more courteous and inclusive for people, to have empathy for what their plights are and what their circumstances are, so that you can offer compassion. It technically doesn't matter where it comes from, but if these mechanics are compelling to you, then the only thing that for you to buy into it, the only thing that you have to do is to spend time with things that hurt inside of you. It doesn't heal you of trauma or pain, but it allows you to understand why it exists, and it helps you to accept its presence. Like if you're paralyzed, you have to accept where that feeling, like you can still, like phantom limb syndrome, for instance, you can still feel it and it hurts. It is most often described as hurting. If you focus on that pain instead of escaping it, you're not going to grow back another arm, or you're not going to be able to walk again necessarily. But it's going to allow you to unravel the energy system that is still pumping information through that phantom limb, and it hurts because the information isn't grounding through your cell system and isn't cycling back. So it's just being pushed out, and it's just dead space. Pardon the pun. So that's a really great example, because the more you feel that pain, the more we tend to think, what did I do wrong to deserve this pain? Why am I enduring this suffering? And it's there, to be quite frank, is because if it didn't hurt, you might ignore it. But it's absolutely critical for you to be able to recognize these energy patterns, for you to be able to build a relationship with your inner self, so that you can receive the intuitions that you're capable of receiving, and have the spontaneity to be able to, if I didn't expect something to happen today and this is what's happening, I don't have to stress out about it, because this is the best reality that I'm being led into. My problem is that I'm not accepting what change is being presented to me as part of the path, and me fighting that change and me resisting it is part of the process of unwinding the energy systems that are knotted up inside. So the very process of being uncomfortable with things is the process of healing you of that discomfort. The pain won't go away, but it gets transformed into something that you have a relationship with. So it becomes more of like, you're painful, and this pain may never end, and this suffering might not stop, but I can honor your presence, that you have a purpose in allowing me to humble myself, to accept the things that I don't want in my life, that they have a purpose for me being there, that if I can just get to a place where I can accept them for what they are, that allows them to move inside of my body and either spontaneously heal themselves, or more likely not hurt anymore. So you can accept that you have this limitation, or you have this cancer, or this limb is missing, but it doesn't cause suffering for you anymore. It just, like an animal, Like if an animal loses a leg, it's not going to spend time saying, woe is me. It's going to be like, I'm hungry. How am I going to figure out how to get food now? And it either figures it out or it enters the food chain itself. Animals have no pride and ego attached to any of these things. It just simply adapts and continues forward with what it has. And humans are too smart, so they can hold on to their energy structure. Like they can will themselves to hold an energy pattern, which is lamenting. When you're lamenting over something, you're not letting the energy pattern of what that thing is to pass. So a feeling of guilt doesn't have to stick with you unless you haven't built a proper relationship with the feelings of guilt. So more and more things will happen that make you feel guilty. Or situations are presented to you that's like that, shame or embarrassment, things that lead into guilt. Being forced to make a tough decision where you have to choose one person over another, for instance, the backwash of that choice can feel like guilt. And it's not the guilt is because you did something wrong, because you didn't. The adventure is scripted. It's just you get to ride it. It's are you trying to fight the ride, or are you strapping yourself in and throwing your arms up and just screaming as you roller coaster down the instance of reality that you course through until you eject out the backside, and then you're free of your body again and you flow free, and then you get back into queue. And it's like, when do I get a new body? I want to do that again. It's an awesome ride. Like when I was at Six Flags America in St. Louis when I was growing up, there was rides, and on good days as in like low attendance, you could get off the ride and just circle back around and immediately get back on board again. So you could cycle through the same ride as often, as short as the line is. And reality is kind of like that too. You can think I'm crazy if you want. I don't mind that. But again, the end goal is to end the suffering, remove the confusion as to why things happen to you, and for you to allow yourself to get into a relationship with the things that are feeding intuition and instances of experiences to you, that like when you get caught by surprise, when plans don't happen the way that you imagine they're going to, it's not because something went wrong, it's because you weren't in touch with where reality was going to take you. So you get thrown for a loop because you made up an idea of what was going to happen without actually knowing what the results are. But if you get in tuned enough, you don't care what the results are. You're just there for the ride, and everything is a surprise. But you get so used to being surprised that it just becomes fun. So I am in a constant process of learning how to let go of my expectations of what's supposed to be, and to allow myself to intuitively respond and not react to the things that happen around me. So this is an example of a pilot in queue jumping in and having things to say, as these words just keep falling out of my face, and I'm not pre-planning them, I'm just not stopping the words from being said, which is scary. You have to learn to trust that stuff. And so it's a process of discovery, for whatever that's worth. Again, I don't expect people to believe that, but I use mythos language a lot, like like muses and stuff like that. I'm just being blunt about like what those origins are, and I don't necessarily feel like that's something I need to keep to myself. It sounds crazy, but I'm okay with that. My life is crazy, and I fall off cliffs, I get hit by trucks, and I don't die. So but I black out in those things. Like when I get thrown into a terrible tragedy, I black out, and then I end up waking up and I'm not, I survived the experience. So it's there's a lot of, I'll talk about my crazies some other day, like the crazy crap I've had to endure someday. But sometimes you just can't explain why things happen. It's because it was scripted to happen, and you're not supposed to be able to understand why could you survive something happening, like getting hit by a truck moving 60 miles per hour and tossing you 100 feet into a ditch. Like, how can you walk away from that? It's like, well, I blacked out, so I have no idea. But when I woke up, I was alive and I was okay. I mean, they took me to the hospital anyway, but I could have gotten up and walked away. They're like, don't. Just stay still. I mean, I had a hell of a headache. And they had to put some sutures in my head. But other than that, I was fine. I was back at work the next day. So I guess if you don't like anything that I'm saying, you can just chalk it up to the massive blunt force trauma that I've experienced and been adapting to ever since, because the wound never goes away. I just learned to make sense out of it, and this is the best sense that I've come up with so far. So this is man, this has been a weird day. I didn't expect to talk about any of this stuff, but apparently this is the stuff that I'm talking about. So hopefully I'm not pissing people off and getting on some sort of weird list or something. But here we are. It's 8 o'clock. I gotta. Oh, it's 7:57. Sweet. I'm not actually late yet, but I do need to stop. So yeah, I like how that turned out, man. That is pleasing to me. The only thing I have to work on is the shield crest, the fin marker, and the front plate marker. So we'll just put some sort of sigils or something in there to identify it as an object, like as part of the team, a crew member. And then we'll adapt this guy back here, and I'll probably just finish that stuff offline. So as soon as I have it done, it'll probably be done tonight, but I won't be doing it on stream. But this is pretty much, this is the thing. So I could strip that away, and I'm gonna pull that out. Pull that out. There. And we'll put this as, we'll call this filigree. Filigree. So that's fun. But yeah, so essentially the pieces, I mean, like, if I don't use the filigree, this is good enough. I mean, obviously it needs markings on it because it looks a little plain. Like, why wouldn't you have something on your shield? But this is the piece. This is essentially the piece. I need to clean up this guy a little bit, but I could ignore it and just leave it as is and move forward. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this so far. I think I need to tweak like some of these clouds and stuff, so I got to fiddle with stuff a little bit. But maybe like an hour or so of additional work, and this will be done. So I want to be working on the scabbard tokens on Monday. So maybe I'll come back at lunchtime today and try to finish this thing up. Maybe I'll do that. If I do, it'll be on Twitter. I won't be spam posting on Discord or anything like that. This will just be on Twitter. So follow me on Twitter, Phil Kearney. I'm at like, subscribe. My books are down below. Go ahead and grab them. And yeah, thanks a lot for participating. I'll be back tomorrow morning in about 25 hours, and we'll be working on the Eberron map some more. So we'll see how far I get done off screen, and when I come back, hopefully we'll have progress and we'll keep moving forward, and hopefully we have folks on board willing to come along with us. So that's it. I'm out of here. I really appreciate you guys. Thanks a bunch, Hansi. See you on the other side.